The Citadel's war chamber pulsed with warning lights as Captain Myra Solis stepped inside, boots echoing against polished obsidian floors. A massive hologram dominated the center of the room, its shifting fragments depicting the shattered remains of the human diplomatic cruiser Seraphic Dawn. The fractured hull spun silently in the projection, debris glinting like frozen sparks. The assembled delegates stared with a mix of disbelief and fear. Myra halted beside the platform. Even prepared reports hadn't captured the brutality of what she saw now. Sections of the cruiser ripped open, crew quarters exposed to vacuum, escape pods torn apart before they could launch. Her hands curled involuntarily. A whispered ripple passed through the alien representatives. A frail Tvel elder, her skin shimmering like cracked crystal, leaned toward her counterpart. "The humans will not accept this," she murmured. "The legends warn us." At the far end of the chamber, High Executor Vila Jarkuan stepped forward from the shadows. Tall, reptilian, armored in ceremonial plating, he moved with controlled precision. "We extend condolences for your loss," he said, amber eyes hooded. "But the Dominion cannot be held responsible for every incident in unregulated space." Myra turned her gaze on him, expression neutral. "The attack occurred inside Concordance-protected territory. No vessel should have been there. Yet your energy signatures were found all over the wreckage." Vila smiled faintly, a gesture that never reached his eyes. "Perhaps someone wishes to frame us. You humans make many enemies." The chamber erupted into overlapping voices, accusations, defenses, panic. Myra held her ground. She'd seen war rooms spiral into chaos before, but this one had an edge she hadn't felt in years. Too many delegates looked toward her with expectation. Too many remembered the stories the elders carried. Humans under pressure became something unstoppable. The presiding arbiter struck his staff against the floor. "Enough. We will hear Captain Solis." Myra stepped closer to the hologram, letting the fragments rotate beside her. This wasn't a pirate strike or a random raid. Whoever did this wanted it to be seen. They made a statement. She pointed to a cluster of scorched plating. "Weapon burns here are modified Zareth pattern disruptors. Slight variations, but distinct. Enough to trigger blame, not enough to hide sloppiness." A silence grew heavier than the hum of machinery. Vila crossed his arms. "So your accusation is deliberate deception." "My findings say someone wants a war," Myra replied. "I intend to find who." The arbiter nodded. "Captain Solis, the Concordance tasks you with a full investigation. You will be granted access to all evidence recovered. Your ship will remain docked under agreement of neutrality." Myra bowed her head slightly. "Understood." As the meeting dissolved, Vila approached her with slow, deliberate steps. Delegates parted around him like smoke shifting away from flame. "You speak boldly for one with limited proof," he said. "It's more proof than you've offered." Vila studied her, eyes narrowing. "Your species believes itself guardians of truth. Admirable, if naive. You should consider the consequences of implying we broke the treaty." Myra met his gaze evenly. "If you didn't, you have nothing to fear from my investigation." A low chuckle left him. "Fear? Humans misunderstand us. We don't fear conflict. We value opportunity." "Then let's hope you don't mistake this one," Myra said, turning away. She left the chamber through a side corridor glowing with pale blue conduits. The Citadel's architecture favored sweeping arches and crystalline supports, beautiful, but always cold. She reached a secluded alcove and exhaled slowly. The last time humanity faced targeted provocation, entire star systems had fallen before treaties were rewritten. Those treaties now stood on the edge of collapse. Her wrist console chimed. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Rear on the Resolute Horizon. We're receiving the wreckage samples from Concordance Retrieval." "I'm on my way," Myra replied. She stepped onto the shuttle pad moments later. Transparent barriers dropped, and the bay opened into the vast starfield surrounding Varios. The shuttle rose with smooth acceleration toward her ship, a dark gray spear of reinforced alloys, built for rapid response missions. As it docked, crew members snapped to attention. "Captain on deck," Rear announced. Myra nodded. "Status?" We have 3 confirmed survivors, Rhea said, guiding her into the analysis lab. They're stable but unconscious. Escape pod shielding preserved them long enough for retrieval teams to arrive. The lab lights dimmed as the debris samples were projected into rotating spectrograms. Myra leaned in. Burn patterns, microresidues, structural fractures all aligned with what she'd suspected. Too intentional. Too conspicuous. Her chief engineer, Kato, manipulated the holograms. See this cluster here? Weapon modulation's off by a few microns. Looks like someone imitated Zareth disruptors using mismatched emitters. Amateur work, unless the goal was misdirection. So someone wants both sides blaming the other, Rhea said. Myra crossed her arms. Or someone wants one side to break first. Kato's brow furrowed. Meaning us. Myra nodded. Every aggressive human response becomes an excuse for escalation. The Dominion pushes boundaries until they find one we won't tolerate. Rhea pulled up a secondary feed. There's something else. Concordant sensors picked up Zareth fleet movement near Sector Theta 9. Officially defensive formations. Unofficially, positioning. Veela's already preparing, Myra muttered. He expects retaliation. Or wants it, Kato said. Myra turned away from the display. Her pulse tightened. Humanity had faced countless enemies, but the Dominion never provoked without purpose. If Veela was orchestrating this, the attack on the Seraphic Dawn was only the beginning. She activated her comm bridge, prepare a secure channel to Concordance intelligence, and run a full reconstruction of all debris. Every fracture, every trace element. If someone forged these signatures, I want to know how. Rhea hesitated. Captain, if this leads where we think it will, then we stay ahead of it, Myra said. We find the truth before the galaxy collapses into another war. As she left the lab, the corridor lights dimmed slightly, citadel-wide energy cycling. Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered in clusters, indifferent to the threats stirring between civilizations. Myra paused to study them, jaw tightened with resolve. Someone wanted to break humanity. But they clearly forgot the oldest warning carved by civilizations far older than hers. Do not provoke the humans. They do not break. They adapt. Myra turned from the window. Begin full analysis, she ordered. We chase this trail until it ends. And somewhere deep in the citadel, a shadowed figure watched her through encrypted surveillance, silent, waiting, and certain the trap had already begun to spring. The resolute horizon drifted in a slow arc above Vario's, its hull catching faint glints from the citadel's massive docking rings. Captain Myra Solis stood in the ship's central analysis bay, watching a 3-dimensional reconstruction of the Seraphic Dawn rotate above the holotable. Every scar across the cruiser's surface marked a step closer to the truth and a step deeper into something deliberate. Kato zoomed in on a cluster of microfractures near the starboard hull. These marks don't match any Zareth military pattern. Not exactly. Look here, see the irregular energy bleed? Myra studied the data. It's imprecise. If the Dominion fired on the cruiser, they wouldn't leave sloppy modulation burns. Rhea crossed her arms. Unless someone wanted you to think they did. Exactly. Myra gestured toward the projection. This reeks of a staged strike. They mimic Zareth signatures just enough to invite suspicion, but the inconsistencies reveal intent. Kato tapped through spectral overlays. Whoever did this used outdated disruptor modules patched into newer emitters. That's not Dominion doctrine. They're meticulous about weapons uniformity. Rhea leaned against the console. So we're hunting someone pretending to be Zareth. Or someone the Dominion prefers to keep concealed, Myra said. Either way, we're tracking a shadow. Before Rhea could respond, the ship's comm chimed. Captain, an urgent message from the Citadel, the bridge officer announced. Route it here, Myra said. A holographic feed flickered to life, showing the Concordance corridor pulsing with chaos. Delegates shouted across the chamber, their voices layered with accusation and fear. Myra recognized the arbiter at the center, struggling to maintain order. Captain Solis, he said, voice taut. We have a situation. Several factions are demanding immediate sanctions against humanity. They claim your species orchestrated the destruction to justify military expansion. Rhea muttered, convenient. Myra stepped closer to the holo. You have our evidence. Why are they turning on us? Influence, the arbiter said grimly. Certain representatives insist your findings are fabricated. They've been presented with counter-analysis that contradicts your data. Myra felt her pulse sharpen. From whom? A Dominion envoy. Vila denies involvement in producing the documents, yet they bear Zareth seals. Rhea scoffed. Of course he denies it. The arbiter's voice dropped. Additionally, anti-human factions within the Citadel are targeting your crew. Your officers are advised to remain aboard your ship. Myra's jaw tightened. Understood. We'll continue our investigation. As the holo faded, Rhea exhaled slowly. We're being boxed in. Then we break the box, Myra replied. We need clearer evidence, something undeniable. Cato gestured toward another projection. We found encrypted packets in one debris shard. It's fragmented, but the patterns don't match Zareth encryption. They look older. Older how? Myra asked. Pre-Dominion era. Maybe even a splinter sect. Rhea straightened. You're thinking extremists. Possibly, Cato said. But the encryption style references something else, something classified in Concordance archives. Myra's mind moved rapidly through possibilities. Pull everything related to Zareth separatist groups. Cross-match their activity with regions near the attack site. Cato nodded. On it. The ship hummed around them as systems processed layers of encrypted data. Myra paced, trying to piece together escalating events. The Dominion's rapid defensive mobilization. The counterfeit analysis. The attack meant to inflame both sides. Someone was manipulating the Concordance toward collapse. Minutes later, Cato raised his head. Captain. I found something. The holo shifted, revealing an emblem, a black circle carved by jagged lines, surrounding an ancient Zareth rune. Rhea frowned. I've never seen that. Myra had. Not first-hand, but in old intelligence briefings about groups the Dominion denied existed. The Obsidian Circle, she said quietly. Cato's face tightened. That's a myth. A militant sect supposedly purged centuries ago. Not purged, Myra said. Buried. Their doctrine rejected the Concordance entirely. They believed the Dominion should rule the galaxy, not negotiate with it. They favored destabilization over diplomacy. Rhea's eyes widened. They would absolutely stage an attack like this. And frame their own empire, Cato added. If the fallout weakens peace treaties. Myra nodded. The Dominion gains advantage no matter who takes the blame. Before the weight of this settled, the ship's alarm pulsed once, soft but urgent. Incoming broadcast, the bridge officer announced. Zareth Channel. Vila's image materialized, sharply defined and unmistakably confident. Captain Solace, he said, voice smooth. Your investigation appears to be generating discomfort within the Concordance. Perhaps you should consider stepping away from matters beyond your command. Myra kept her expression steady. Why would truth unsettle you, Executor? Vila's smile held no warmth. Truth depends on perspective. And your perspective is clouded by grief. Rhea bristled, but Myra raised a hand to silence her. You expect me to abandon the investigation, Myra said. That won't happen. Vila tilted his head. I expect you to understand the consequences of continuing it. Myra stepped closer to the feed. Executor, threats only confirm your desperation. Vila's eyes hardened. Be careful what you assume. Humanity is not the only species capable of unpredictability. He paused, then added with chilling calm, enjoy your time on that fragile vessel, Captain. The galaxy watches your every move. The transmission cut abruptly. Rhea exhaled. His losing control. Myra shook her head. No. His tightening it. Cato tapped through the system logs. Captain, we've picked up troop redeployments along Dominion borders. They're moving aggressively. Enough to provoke panic? Myra asked. Absolutely. Myra paced again, grounding her thoughts. The Citadel turning hostile. The Dominion maneuvering fleets. An extremist sect resurrected. Someone intended to collapse the entire diplomatic structure from within. Cato, she said, expand the search. If the Obsidian Circle resurfaced, they'll slip somewhere. Communications, trading lanes, secret docks, find any sign of their presence. He nodded. Already scanning. Rhea approached Myra quietly. Captain, if the Circle orchestrated the attack, the Dominion will deny involvement. They'll claim rogue elements. That buys them freedom to escalate. And leaves humanity cornered, Myra added. We need irrefutable proof. Something that exposes the Circle publicly. Rhea hesitated. Do you think the survivors might have seen something? Maybe they caught a glimpse before the cruiser broke apart. I'll question them once they're conscious, Myra said. But we need more than testimony. The ship's engines hummed softly as data streams spiraled across the holodisplay. Myra watched lines of code sift through encrypted blocks, piecing together glimpses of hidden networks. Then Cato froze. Captain, he whispered. I found a signal pattern originating from a remote sector near the attack site. It's faint, buried under layers of masking, but the signature matches the Obsidian Circle's encryption style. Rhea leaned forward. Coordinates. Cato pulled them up. Outer drift sector. Uninhabited. No official traffic. Myra's pulse sharpened. A hidden relay point. Or a staging post, Rhea added. Myra's decision solidified instantly. Prep the ship. Course toward the drift. We investigate it immediately. As the Resolute Horizon powered up, Myra glanced once through the viewport. The Citadel gleamed like a fragile monument against star-black silence, beautiful, vast, and ready to fracture under the weight of a manufactured crisis. Somewhere out there, the Obsidian Circle moved in shadows. Myra intended to drag them into the light. The Resolute Horizon dropped out of warp at the edge of the outer drift, where starlight thinned into a mist of dust and cold radiation. The region had no settlements, no trade routes, and no reason for any vessel to linger. Yet the ship's sensors pinged, faint readings pulsing like a heartbeat beneath static. Cato reviewed the patterns. Energy spikes at intervals. Someone's broadcasting on a buried frequency. Origin? Myra asked. Ahead, he said. Coordinates locked. Rhea tightened her harness as the ship glided forward. You feel that tension in the air, she said quietly. Feels like we're walking straight into someone's den. Myra didn't answer. Too many pieces aligned with precision that didn't feel accidental. She sat forward, studying the scans. Ahead, a mass of twisted metal floated in the dark, an abandoned mining platform from a bygone era. Its skeletal frame spun slowly, throwing fractured shadows across the void. That's our relay, Myra said. Approach with minimal signature. The ship slid closer until the platform filled the front viewport. Its interior lights were dead, but faint blue traces flickered deep within its core. Rhea activated external amplifiers. Getting a partial transmission. Fragmented. She adjusted the filters, isolating a rough voice beneath layers of distortion. Circle operations, initiated, Phase 2. Strike timetable moved forward. Citadel vulnerable. The voices cut abruptly. Cato stared at the console. They're planning something else. Myra didn't need confirmation. Rhea, trace the outgoing signal routes. Already on it. Lines of holo-routed pathways appeared. Most connections lead back to Zareth territory. But this one, she highlighted a path bending toward neutral space. This route leads to a Zareth military outpost near Concordance borders. Myra's pulse tightened. A staging point for something larger. Before she could analyze further, an alarm screamed across the bridge. Incoming fleet movement, the officer called. Multiple Zareth signatures entering neutral space near the Citadel. Rhea snapped her head up. They're moving openly now. Myra accessed the secondary feed. A live broadcast filled the screen, grainy footage of human civilians in minor uniforms surrounded by armed Zareth soldiers. The prisoners knelt with hands bound. Vila stood before them, posture rigid, eyes blazing with triumph. My Dominion has detained these intruders, Vila announced. They violated our borders. They will be processed accordingly. Should humanity object, we remind the Concordance that order must be maintained. Myra's grip tightened. They weren't near Zareth territory. We track every mining vessel. Rhea slammed her fist on the console. This is staged. Cato stepped forward. Captain, the Dominion just released a secondary statement. They're accusing humanity of manufacturing conspiracies to justify military expansion. Rhea turned toward Myra, face pale. They're framing us as aggressors. And now they've taken hostages. Myra felt something inside her shift. The careful restraint she'd maintained since the Seraphic Dawn attack began to fracture. The Citadel's diplomats might hesitate, but the Dominion's maneuvers revealed their true intent clearly. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. The face of Admiral Kian materialized, stern and worn by years of conflict. Captain Solace, we just received Vila's broadcast. What's the situation? We located a hidden transmission hub linked to the Obsidian Circle, Myra said. Intercepted fragments confirm a planned strike on the Citadel. Vila is involved, directly or indirectly. The hostage display confirms escalation. Kian frowned. Our analysts reached similar conclusions. The Circle is real. And they're pushing for total destabilization. Then we need to act before they move, Myra replied. Kian hesitated. We're preparing military contingencies, but the Council wants restraint. They fear any action from us ignites war. Rhea whispered under her breath, as if we're not already on the edge. Myra kept her voice level. Admiral, with respect, restraint is exactly what the Dominion expects. They're staging provocations until one side snaps. The longer we wait, the more leverage they gain. Kian exhaled sharply. And what do you propose? We intercept their staging operation. Something big is coming. The Circle's relay indicates a timetable shift. They want the Citadel to burn. Kian's gaze hardened. Proceed with caution, Myra. But we can't authorize aggression unless you obtain undeniable evidence. I'll get it, she said. The transmission ended. Rhea looked at Myra. We need a direction. We follow the relay path, Myra said. Track their staging operation. Cato pulled up navigational data. The path ends near the Vila's expanse. There's nothing there except a few derelict stations. Unless something's hidden. Myra straightened. Set a course. The ship leaped into warp. As the stars blurred into streaks of white, Myra retreated to the observation chamber. The transparent dome above her showed the drift's dying light receding behind the ship. She felt the weight of the galaxy press against her expectation, fear, suspicion. Humans were used to that pressure, but this time the stakes involved more than their species. Rhea entered quietly. You're thinking too loudly, she said. Myra managed a faint smile. Bad habit. You're carrying the burden alone again. I don't have a choice. Rhea sat beside her. You always say that. But this time. I'm not just worried about the mission. I'm worried about you. Myra looked up at the sweeping stars. I've seen what humans become in impossible situations. We adapt. We outthink. We survive. But adaptation sometimes demands costs we can't predict. You won't cross that line, Rhea said softly. You're not built for cruelty. But if the Circle succeeds, the galaxy will treat us as monsters anyway. And Vila is counting on that fear. Myra drew a breath. I won't give him the satisfaction. Before Rhea could reply, the ship shuddered slightly. Warp exit. Cato's voice came through the comm. Captain, you'll want to see this. Myra and Rhea hurried to the bridge. On the main display floated a colossal silhouette, sleek, armored, and unmistakably active. Its hull shimmered with energy fields. Weapons arrays unfolded like metallic wings. A dreadnought. Rhea stepped closer, eyes wide. That's not a patrol ship. That's a fortress. Cato zoomed in on its underbelly. A massive device protruded from the keel, an angular construct pulsing with violent energy. Myra felt a chill. That's a planet breaker cannon. Reaper posed. Scaled down but still catastrophic. Rhea swallowed. Aimed where? Kato adjusted the trajectory projections. A thin red arc appeared. Rhea whispered, "The Citadel." Silence filled the bridge. Myra clenched her jaw. This is their plan. Strike the Citadel, blame humanity, collapse the Concordance. Kato turned. "Captain, this isn't a fleet. It's a surgical weapon. One shot, then retreat." Myra nodded slowly. "Vila will claim we fired it." Rhea looked at her. "Then we stop it." Myra straightened. "Prepare infiltration gear. We board that ship quietly, disable the cannon, and extract whatever proof we can." Kato froze. "Captain, that's a dreadnought. And we don't have time to call for backup," Myra said. "If we wait, the Citadel dies." Rhea's voice steadied. "Then we go." Myra gave a single sharp nod. "We board within the hour." As the crew scattered to prepare, Myra lingered at the viewport, watching the dreadnought's faint glow pulse like a heartbeat in the dark. This was the moment the elders had feared. Not because humans were monsters, but because when cornered, they refused to fall. A thin halo of distorted light surrounded the Zareth dreadnought as Myra's infiltration shuttle drifted toward its underbelly. The vessel's hull stretched like a silent continent, armored plates etched with crimson symbols, weapon batteries slotted into recessed banks, and the massive cannon core pulsing with steady, ominous rhythm. Inside the shuttle, Myra checked her gear one final time. Her pulse remained steady, not from lack of fear but from focus sharpened to a point. Rhea secured the last magnetic tether, while Kato cycled the cloak field. "Stealth signatures stable," Kato said. "We're invisible unless they stare directly at us." "Let's make sure they don't," Myra replied. The shuttle locked beneath a maintenance ridge. Kato released the airlock, revealing a narrow entry shaft. Myra climbed first, boots attaching to the metal with soft clicks. Once inside, the metallic silence of the dreadnought pressed against them. They moved through dim corridors lined with pulsating conduits. The ship's heartbeat hummed beneath their feet. Rhea whispered, "We're close to the cannon spine. Power readings are spiking." "Stay alert," Myra said. "The circle won't leave this unguarded." As if summoned by the words, distant metallic thuds echoed down the corridor. Shadows shifted. Myra raised her weapon, signaling the team to take cover. Two armored guards appeared, Zareth soldiers bearing black insignias not used by the Dominion, confirming their allegiance to the Obsidian Circle. Their armor was heavier, their visors darker. They moved with intent, scanning the corridors. Myra caught Rhea's eye and nodded. Rhea lobbed a small pulse disruptor that landed silently between the guards. A flash of blue light snapped through the air, soundless, contained. Both guards collapsed. Kato exhaled. "Clean. Move," Myra said. They advanced toward the cannon chamber. The doors to the core were enormous, reinforced with layers of plated shielding. Myra used a bypass spike, and the locks disengaged with a low groan. The chamber opened like a cathedral of machinery. The cannon core rose from the floor in a spiraling column of energy, arcs of blue-white light pulsing inside transparent conduits. Surrounding platforms held control consoles displaying countdown sequences. Rhea hissed, "They're minutes away from firing." Myra scanned the settings. Trajectory still locked on the Citadel. Kato accessed an auxiliary terminal. "I might be able to overload the secondary coils. That would disable the cannon without blowing the ship." Rhea checked the perimeter. "Do it fast." Myra moved toward the main control dais only to stop cold. High Executor Vila stepped from behind the cannon's support structure, armored and poised as if he had been waiting. "I wondered how long it would take you," Vila said. "Humans always push closer instead of turning back." Myra leveled her weapon. "Step aside." Vila tilted his head, studying her with a scientist's curiosity rather than fear. "You're persistent, Captain Solace. Admirable quality. Dangerous too. You planned all of this," Myra said. "The attack. The prisoners. The forged evidence." "With assistance," Vila replied. "The Circle offered a mutually beneficial vision. They wanted upheaval. I wanted to reveal the truth about your species. Rhea bristled. Truth. You kidnapped civilians and targeted the Citadel. And exposed your fragility, Vila said. The galaxy whispers that humans are indomitable. Unbreakable. But all myths must be tested. You're provoking genocide, Myra said. There's no glory in that. Vila's eyes flared. War forces evolution. Weak civilizations decay. Strong civilizations ascend. The Dominion must rise. Humanity must be put in its place. Myra stepped forward. You want us to lose control. You want to see if the legends are true. Vila smiled thinly. Exactly. Behind Myra, Cato whispered urgently through the comm, Captain, countdown accelerating. I need more time. Vila heard him. You won't have it. He lunged. Myra dodged as his arm blade extended, slicing the air where she had been. She fired a controlled burst, but Vila deflected it with a shield pulse. Rhea darted behind a power conduit, firing suppression shots. Vila moved with unnatural precision, augmented reflexes, reinforced musculature. Each strike carried lethal intent. Myra parried his next blow with her forearm shield, sparks flying. Vila leaned close. Show me the force your ancestors wielded in the old wars. Myra's grip tightened. You want adaptation? She ducked under his strike, seized a fallen guard's disruptor baton, and jammed it into the control panel beside them. Electricity tore through the platform, jolting the surrounding circuitry. The shock threw Vila back. Cato shouted, Captain, that destabilized the coils, keep him off me. Vila rose, fury glowing in his eyes. Resourceful, he said. Typical human. He charged again, but Myra anticipated the move. She redirected his momentum, slamming him into a data pillar. His armor cracked. Rhea fired, forcing him to retreat across the platform. Myra advanced. You wanted a demonstration? Here it is. Vila swung again, but fatigue slowed him. Myra sidestepped, struck his joint plating, and then used her amplified gauntlet to deliver a blow to his chest. His armor finally buckled. He staggered, breathing ragged. This is why you must be broken. No, Myra said. This is why your fear is misplaced. She fired once, not to kill, but to disable. Vila collapsed to his knees. Rhea rushed to help Cato. Status. Almost. Cato said, fingers flying across controls. Just one more override. A sudden surge of energy roared through the chamber as the cannon core dimmed, then powered down entirely. The countdown ended. The weapon was dead. Cato sagged with relief. Cannon neutralized. Rhea smiled faintly. Citadel saved. Myra turned back to Vila, who glared from the floor. You've lost, she said. Vila coughed, eyes burning with defiance. You think this ends with me? The circle has cells across the Dominion. They'll continue the work. Myra tapped her wrist console. Already addressed. On the holoscreen above the chamber, a broadcast began everything essential. Humanity was still here. Still standing. And very difficult to break. ChatGPT can make MI. Recorded during the infiltration, Vila's confession, the Circle's transmission fragments, the Dreadnought's targeting logs. Rhea grinned. The whole galaxy is watching now. Vila froze as the reality hit him. You used this ship as evidence. Yes, Myra said. You built your downfall. His gaze wavered for the first time. What will you do with me? Myra holstered her weapon. Let the Concordance decide. Rhea approached. Extraction window is short. Reinforcements will swarm soon. Myra nodded. Team, fall back. As they crossed the corridor again, alarms blared throughout the Dreadnought. The ship's internal stabilizers flickered. Bulkheads sealed in succession. The trio sprinted toward the infiltration shaft. Cato sealed the hatch behind them as they dropped into the shuttle. Go. Myra ordered. The shuttle detached, engines firing. The Dreadnought loomed behind them like a wounded predator. Moments later, Concordant security fleets warped into view, drawn by the broadcast. The Dreadnought was surrounded. Rhea let out a long breath. We made it. Myra stared at the citadel glowing in the distance. Now they know the truth. When the resolute Horizon rejoined the fleet, Myra stood before the Concordance Council. Delegates who once doubted her now watched with renewed clarity. The elders warned not to provoke humanity, one representative said softly. Myra shook her head. Humans don't rise for conquest. We rise because we refuse to let fear rule the galaxy. The Arbiter bowed. The Concordance owes your people a great debt. Myra's voice held calm strength. We stand for peace, but we will not be hunted. Remember that. Across the chamber, the elders amended their ancient axiom. Do not provoke the humans. For when they rise for everyone. And Myra allowed herself one measured breath. The war had been averted. But the galaxy had been reminded of something.